steel gates of Red Rock State Prison, Arizona groaned open as the transport bus rolled inside. For most inmates, arrival day was loud, shouting, cursing, fear barely hidden behind fake bravado. But the man stepping off the bus this time was different. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and calm. His head was shaved close, his face unreadable. He carried no attitude, no visible fear, just a quiet stillness that felt out of place in a prison yard buzzing with tension. His inmate tag read, Mucka's Hail. From the moment Mucka's entered cell block D, eyes followed him. At the center of the block stood Dullen Crusher Rucka, the undisputed bully of Red Rock, a former underground fighter built like a tank, covered in scars and prison ink. Dullen ruled cell block D through intimidation. Guards tolerated him. Inmates feared him. Crusher noticed Mucka's immediately. "Hey, new fish," Dullen called out, smirking as he stepped forward with his crew. "You lost. This ain't summer camp." Laughter rippled through the block. Mucka stopped walking, slowly turned. His eyes met Dullen's, steady, calm, unblinking. "No," Mucka said quietly. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." That only made the laughter louder. Crusher grinned. "You hear that, boys? We got ourselves a philosopher." He circled Mucka's like a predator. "You look soft. Quiet guys don't last long in here." Mucka said nothing. Silence annoyed Dullen more than insults ever could. He shoved Mucka's hard in the chest. Mucka staggered back one step, but didn't fall. "Rule 1, Dullen said, lowering his voice. "You show respect." Mucka straightened his shirt, eyes still calm. "I didn't come here to fight." The block erupted in mocking cheers. "Oh, he's scared," someone shouted. Crusher leaned in close. "Then you came to the wrong place." A guard's whistle cut through the noise. "Break it up." Dullen backed off, smiling. "This ain't over, new fish." That night Mucka's was assigned a top bunk in a crowded cell. His cellmate, an older man named Eli, whispered warnings. "You don't know who you messed with," Eli said. "Crusher owns this block. You don't bend, you break." Mucka's lay on his bunk, staring at the cracked concrete ceiling. Memories flickered behind his eyes, deserts, night raids, whispered commands over headsets. Things he hadn't thought about in years. "I'm not here forever," Mucka said quietly. Eli shook his head. "Nobody ever is, but some don't make it out." The next morning in the mess hall, Crusher made his move. He dumped Mucka's tray onto the floor, food splattering everywhere. "Clean it up," Dullen sneered. The entire hall went silent. Mucka's looked at the mess, then slowly looked up at Dullen. For the first time, something changed in his eyes, not anger, not fear, but focus. And Crusher, for reasons he couldn't explain, suddenly felt uneasy. The mess hall stayed frozen in silence. Trays paused midair. Guards watched, ready but curious. Dullen, Crusher, Rucka stood over Mucka's Hail, expecting the usual response: fear, anger, submission. Instead, Mucka slowly bent down. He picked up his fallen tray, placed it on the table, and calmly stood back up. Crusher laughed. "That's it, I was hoping you'd snap." Mucka's leaned in just enough for Dullen to hear. His voice was low, controlled. "You're making a mistake." That did it. Later that night, during yard time, Crusher's crew surrounded Mucka's near the weight racks. No guards close enough. No cameras in the blind spot. This was how things were handled at Red Rock. "Last chance," Dullen said, cracking his knuckles. "Apologize." Mucka's exhaled slowly. In one fluid motion, too fast to track, Mucka's sudstapa Dullen's punch trapped his arm and dropped him to the concrete with a controlled takedown. Not wild, not brutal, precise. The yard erupted. Before the others could react, Mucka's moved again. A sweep, a choke, two men down, gasping. He didn't strike faces. He neutralized threats. Years of training took over, muscle memory from places that didn't exist on maps. Crusher tried to get up. Mucka's knelt beside him, "Stay down." Crusher didn't. Muckas applied pressure, just enough. Crusher screamed. Whistles shrieked. Guards stormed in, batons raised. Muckas immediately stepped back, hands up. On the ground, a guard shouted. Muckas complied without hesitation. In solitary, the warden stood with folded arms, studying the incident report. "Interesting," he said. "You didn't throw a single illegal punch." Muckas sat straight. "I defended myself." The warden nodded slowly. "Where'd you learn that?" Muckas hesitated, then reached into his jumpsuit and slid a folded document across the table. The warden's expression changed. "Special Forces," he whispered, "decorated multiple tour." Muckas nodded once. "I kept my head down for a reason." By morning, the rumor had spread. The quiet new inmate wasn't quiet because he was weak. He was quiet because he was trained. Crusher returned to the block bruised, humbled, and silent. No one laughed now. Inmates moved aside when Muckas passed. Guards watched him differently, with respect. Eli leaned over. "You stuff killed him." Muckas shook his head. "That's not who I am anymore." Days passed. Trouble faded. The block stabilized. Even Crusher kept his distance. Weeks later, Muckas was called to the warden's office again. Charges dropped, sentence reviewed, evidence reexamined. At the gate, as Muckas walked out into the Arizona sunlight, the warden spoke quietly. "World needs men like you, even after prison." Muckas paused, looked back once at the walls. "I know," he said. And he walked free, leaving behind a prison that would never forget the day a bully learned the difference between loud strength and real peace.